Hello and welcome to CNN Business Traveller. I'm Richard Quest, this month reporting from Abu Dhabi. In the past month there have been a couple of incidents that have called into question the role of the pilot and the way they sometimes fly the plane. For instance, the Northwest Airlines case, where the plane flew for more than 150 miles beyond its destination before the pilots realised and turned the plane round. Then there was the Delta Airlines plane that landed on the taxiway instead of the runway. This is a good opportunity for us to look into the role and the world of the aviators and to ask whether we expect too much from the men and women who fly our planes. Abu Dhabi, in the heat of the desert. We've come here to get an insight into the world of the pilot. We're visiting Etihad Airways, one of the newest and fastest growing airlines in the world. We're going to ask the question, what does it take to fly the modern jetliner, and have these planes become too clever for their own good? Coming up, what it takes to earn your stripes from cadet to captain, the air on board and its effect on pilots, and the challenge, who will be the captain on BizTrav Air? Dials, knobs, screens, it's absolutely bewildering. And today's pilots have to have an understanding of all of this and be able to respond within seconds. Flying a modern jetliner is a complex business, so much so that America's FAA forbids any non-flying related conversations in a sterile cockpit which is below 10,000 feet. It's no wonder that when it comes to saving costs, airlines will look around the airline and around the company, but you really don't want to save money on the pilots. This is your captain speaking. Soothing words from the man or woman at the front of the plane. The jockey of the skies, the avatar of control, the embodiment of glamour. That is, perhaps, until things don't go according to plan. For instance, last month, when a Delta plane landed by mistake on a taxiway at Atlanta Airport instead of the runway. And 2 days later, a Northwest Airlines flight overshot its destination of Minneapolis by 150 miles. The pilots claim they became distracted. They were discussing rotors and schedules on their laptops, a clear violation of Delta airline policy. Both cases are still being fully investigated, and thankfully there were no injuries or deaths involved. But this isn't always the case. Sometimes it is the pilots who are the cause of the problem. Wrong decisions made under pressure. It's called pilot error. February 2009, and a Continental Airlines plane crashes on approach to Buffalo Airport. All 49 passengers and crew on board were killed. Both pilots were clearly tired before the flight. The previous night, the captain had slept in the crew lounge at the airport, and the first officer had spent hours commuting to meet up with the flight. The issue is whether, in this case, pilot fatigue costs lives.
Fatigue is a growing problem in aviation. 80% of a pilot's awareness goes when they become fatigued. They don't have situational awareness, they can make wrong decisions, their judgment is clouded. So this is a very real concern, and NASA, who have looked at accidents over a period, have identified that up to 20% of aircraft accidents worldwide have been caused by pilot fatigue.
Pilots on both sides of the Atlantic are campaigning for change. They say current flight time regulations are too long and put the lives of all the souls on board at risk. On average, over 21 days, pilots can fly up to 180 hours. Their day shifts can be up to 14 hours long, and when flying at night, 11 hours 45 minutes. It's not just flying hours that's of concern, it's the level of experience when pilots qualify. In the US, a proposed airline safety bill will raise an entry-level pilot's minimum number of hours flown from 250 to 1,500.
I've been flying as an airline pilot for 32 years. Do I need training? Of course I do. Every year I require training to stay current on all the things that could happen. But a 250-hour, 300-hour pilot would need that plus more training specific to the lack of experience.
When things go wrong, all that training becomes ever more important. After all, it's the pilot who gets us out of the water, quite literally, for those passengers on the US Airways flight that landed on the Hudson.
We didn't have time to consult all the written guidance. We didn't have time to complete the appropriate checklists. So Jeff Skiles and I had to work almost intuitively in a very close-knit fashion without having a chance to verbalize every decision, every part of the situation.
Saving 155 lives, Captain Cool was awarded the keys to New York City. But hero status doesn't guarantee rich rewards. Sullenberger's salary has dropped by 40% in recent years, and he has to work a second job to support his family. Until recently, the pilot had always been thought of as a high-paid professional. Now it seems poor pay is putting them off.
What we have are many jobs that pay $18,000, $20,000, $25,000, $30,000 a year. That doesn't attract the experienced, qualified pilots. We have good men and women who are doing those jobs and are working at them very hard, but it's not a career path.
One way airlines can attract the best and the brightest and be reassured by who's flying their fleet is to pick and train their own. Like Etihad, which this month won the World Travel Award Airline of the Year. Etihad opened its flight academy in 2007.
We're creating an airline that's going to be one of the major airlines of the world. When we peak approximately 150 aircraft out in 2017, it's very important that we have that training environment to develop our own pilots for the future, and we've decided to invest in the development of our people. Our pilots are based here, we're working that within their program, so it gives us the efficiencies we need to develop our pilots moving forward, to put them through the training programs effectively, but more importantly, to meet our standards.
Top airlines maintain similar standards when it comes to pilots at the front. So why did you want to spend this large amount of money having your own facility?
As a CEO of a carrier, my number one priority is safety, and having that surety that my pilot management team are meeting the best standards is fundamental, and that's why the investment is there.
This is not a time for complacency. No matter how hard airlines struggle to get back into the black, securing safety with well-trained, well-rested pilots and sustaining growth, it remains the only policy for the airline's survival. When we come back, we meet the cadets who are still on the ground and itching to fly.